Now we're going to take you back to our top story, the ongoing strikes and protests here in France. And France 24's Valerie Dekimp is following along with marchers in Paris as they make their way across the city. Valerie, I want to start just with this news we're hearing of some tear gas and skirmishes with police. I understand that that's not happening right where you are, but can you give us a little context as to where along the route that's happening?
Right, we protesters have just arrived at the Place de la Bastille. This is not very far away from Place de la République where the protest began, and now they're on their way towards Place de la Nation, which is set to be the end of this protest. Now, we've also heard that there are some clashes have erupted there. We have not seen any of that so far along the way with the people that we've been walking with. The crowd is really diverse. We see teachers, transport workers, also firefighters who really received a warm round of applause from the crowd. Young people, old people, a really diverse crowd. And turnout really will be important today. As I was just saying, the beginning of this protest, 800,000 people gathered across the country. Now, the turnout has been really important today. We don't have precise numbers so far, but as you can see behind me, the protests are well underway. And this is happening just a day before Prime Minister Edouard Philippe is set to meet with the unions to try to find an agreement, try to make concessions perhaps. And we hear that some of that could happen with a measure that has been quite controversial, which has been the pivot age. And according to this measure, well, people retiring at the legal age of 62, well, they would receive a reduced pension, unlike people retiring at the age of 64, who would receive a full pension. Now, because of this measure, we have seen a more moderate union, the CFDT, which has joined the movement. Before, they had not been part of the strike. Well, now they are.
Valerie, right, because while we are hearing about isolated incidences of some violence or skirmishes, it is worth noting that you've been out there all day and it's looked very peaceful. But can you explain just a little bit more about the atmosphere and sort of the emotion of the demonstrators there?
Right. Well, the atmosphere has been pretty festive, I would say, throughout the day. We met with protesters at the Place de la République who were having lunch, who were singing with other protesters throughout the day. So it's true that things have been really peaceful over here, at least from where we are standing. And the mood, I would say, is festive, but there's also quite a lot of anger and quite a lot of concern about what is going to happen if this measure, if this pension reform passes and becomes law. We spoke with some protesters, for example, who said who were worried that they were not going to be able to have a decent life, a decent wage after they have retired. Other young people as well, who are not necessarily worried about the pension reforms, but who are worried more broadly about a potential dismantlement of the social system, the welfare system here in France.
So you are seeing a diverse range of ages, because when we think about pension reform, it's something you think about people closer to retirement age. But it does sound like from your reporting and from the images we're seeing that it is a very diverse crowd there as far as age range.
That's correct. I spoke to two young men, 18 years old, 22 years old. They came here with their families. We also spoke to their father, for example. He will be, the pension reforms will affect his pension later on. And he was saying that he's not just protesting for his own pension, but also for the future of his children. We also spoke to, another protester, for example, who said that financially things have been very difficult for him, but he's very much determined to continue with the strike.
Valerie Dekimp, thank you so much for your continued reporting from Paris on the demonstrations there. And